Hello, hello, my beauties and bees. It's time for some weirdness. I hope you're here for it because I am excited to cover the fantastical and fabulous world of fart magic. I do cover a lot of woo woo stuff, like alternative history and that kind of thing, where there were alleged sorcerers. There, there were alleged spellcraft casters and warlocks and things in these alternative histories. Tartaria is one of those, and I have the Knights of Tartaria on my poll right now, but fart magic just has an overlap with that without actually being that. So we're returning to this channel that I'm just infatuated with at this point called Mind Unveiled, and recently they released look here, there's vampires and dragons, secret occult powers and that's Tartaria stuff, origin of Irish civilizations. I guess mud flood. This is where we had the Cabbage Patch Kids that we covered just recently. That got super freaking weird. So today, oh goodness, drink this energy drink I had left over from last night that I used to mix a shot with to take my meds, and now it's gurgling up. Oof. Ah. But they actually brought this to my attention. The fart magic, farting unveiled, the lost art of flatulist fart magic, and the fart wars. Fart wars, y'all. We're gonna do this. We're getting into this farting. Yes.
What's up, guys?
Every time I watch one of his videos, I have to do that. I'm trying to get him to use me as his intro lady, so that he can hear. Ryan knew fart magic existed. Yes, so I'm going to put together a fart coven. I need 4 volunteers for my fart coven. We're gonna make stuff happen. Are you singing the dance magic song from the Labyrinth? Oh, jump magic. They could have added fart magic to that song. You fart in your general direction. We're doing. We watched that recently. We watched that just a couple weeks ago. We watched Quest for the Grail.
Okay, so I know the title of this video seems kind of jokey, and I mean, sure, it's kind of funny, but this is a really weird subject in history that I haven't really seen anyone make a video about.
Ooh, I like this loot. I've been talking to Ben about getting a loot because we're going to go to the Ren Fair.
It's strange that this was actually such an important art form in ancient and medieval times. So while it is kind of humorous, it's also a fascinating history that not too many people know about. It's not supposed to be a super serious video, and I have a big project I'm working on right now.
Are those fart goblins attacking this guy? What's going on? What's this got to do with farts? I need to know. Is there something fartastic going on here? Is this Saint Gaseous? And he used his fart to dispel demons from the church. Tell me the story. Tell me the Tartarian lore about yeah. We're gonna go with Saint Gaseous. Yeah, this is Saint Gaseous. Yeah, he ruled for 10,000 years until he was vanquished by Titan Uranus. And then there came the era of the peaceful era of the Titans' rule that we live in today.
But in the meantime, I figured this would be something interesting to cover for a small video. So yeah, this is kind of the history of farting.
Like look at this old art. what the hell? It's like, now this seems like a political cartoon. It's basically talking about these world leaders sniffing each other's farts is the impression I get from this. But Lord Fartquart.
And I think it kind of exposes the silliness of the history that we've been told. Well, let's...
Now, this looks like cheruby-like people doing Greek wrestling to me, and that's what Greek wrestling was. You put your enemy's junk in your face. Mother of God, the fart fetish has been with us since medieval times. I'm sure there's a poot or two in the garden of earthly delights or desires, whatever its name. This is what we've all been waiting for today, right? We've been waiting for the fart art. I kind of wish I'd been pausing for each piece so we could discuss it. I'm going to stop right here for a second. I'm going to say, put a let's say a 1 in the chat if you want me to go back to the art pieces we've seen so far. There hasn't been too many, but we can go back and look at them real quick. But otherwise, we should just continue on to in the snoot. I'm going to get this off the screen.
Start with ancient times, or what we're told is from ancient.
They've been lighting their farts since ancient times. People have been lighting their farts since ancient times too. Look at that. Not a new concept.
In times. But apparently, farting was a really big deal.
Do you ever think like if people believe that things need to be natural, that they would just harvest farts for fuel? Methane. Oh, we need to go back. Okay. Everybody wants to go back. All right. I'm going to mute him though, because we don't need to rehear that. And we're at a minute 10, so we can just pop through the images. Okay. So, this also looks like political satire, but this does remind me of the Holy Grail scene that we were just discussing. And this is how you enter the kingdom of heaven. These are the angels of the Lord announcing your arrival at the pearly gates. I think we used to have this guy as part of our Breeze Bestiary intro way back in the day, but because we would talk about medieval art and this depiction of different critters, but it's expanded a lot since then. But look at our homie playing the lute. I think we did talk about this one a bit. As far as this one goes, I don't know what this has to do with farts. Maybe the gesture is farting. I don't know. Okay, no more farts there. And then we get to Saint Gaseous, and then yeah, okay. I think we're all caught up.
Philosophers writing on it and emperors making laws on it. It was literally an art form. St. Augustine, one of the most important Christian philosophers, commented in his 5th century work, The City of...
Maybe that was St. Augustine that we looked at earlier. Maybe I thought it was St. Gaseous, but it was St. Augustine. Augustine.
God, discussing, quote, people who could produce at will, without any stench, such rhythmical sounds from their fundament that they appear to be making music even from that quarter, end quote. He claimed to have seen...
So, what this is telling me is that there was a lost musical art form that humans had as late as the classical era of Christian philosophy, where I could have had a career as a musician, and that was lost on me as whatever evolutionary pathway that led to the musical farts it no longer exists in humanity. Or does it, and they're just underground because it's shamed, like left-handedness, people, like, once they destigmatized it, more people came forward as, yes, I'm a left-handed person. Maybe the fart musicians. Maybe the fart musicians are out there, and they're in hiding because of the stigma. So I'm putting a band together. I play many musical instruments. So if you are secretly a fart musician who's been hiding in the shadows for too long, please come join my band. Obviously, we'll play outside, but please come join my band, and we will. Yeah, I don't want. I know there's people that sell their farts on OnlyFans and stuff. But that's what I want to hear is people that are making the music that St. Augustine's talking about, where they're like doing. I don't know if it's like a rhythm, like a. Or if it's like a trumpet sort of sound, like a. Something like that, but I don't know. Well, I need to know if these people are still out there in the world that St. Augustine met.
Seen someone in such control of his backside that he could break wind at will and follow the tone of verses spoken to him. I'm telling you, this gets extremely weird. But back in the 1st century AD, the Roman Emperor Claudius actually made it legal to fart at banquets because he was worried people might hurt themselves trying to hold it in. Like, imagine being in ancient Rome around 41 AD, and your emperor is just like, you know what, guys, let it rip. It's much healthier that way. So in ancient...
That is true, and in a lot of cultures it was a compliment if someone served you food if you were gassy, because it meant you ate it so fast that you swallowed a bunch of air, was the idea. But it's actually your gut flora process in producing the gas that comes out. So, and that's why it's a different consistency depending on what you eat. I don't need to explain to you guys what your gas is, but yeah, it's not actually you swallowing air and releasing it. I mean, to some extent, that's part of the process, but yeah.
ancient times, farting wasn't just something people awkwardly pretended didn't happen. It was a big deal. Like, we're talking about farts literally changing the course of history. Seriously. Back in 569 BC.
Oh, I like that. Look at this. Bro's blasting his chariot forward with his gas. Or is that supposed to just be the dust kicked up by the chariot? Is that just supposed to be the dust kicked up by the chariot, though? Maybe just one person then. Oz knows someone who does it. What? Oz knows a fart musician?
A single fart helped overthrow a kingdom. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote about how King Apries of Egypt sent...
And we all know how trustworthy Herodotus was, right? Oh, Herodotus, you silly, silly boy. He said some crazy shit. Dude was tripping the whole journey. Dude was tripping. I don't know if he stopped by the poppy fields before he took off, or if he was sampling some different local medicines as he traveled around the expanses of the Mediterranean and beyond. What he was doing, but oh boy, saw some crazy shit that no one ever saw again.
his general Amasis to deal with some rebels. Instead, the rebels were like, hey, you should be king instead, and crowned Amasis. When the king sent his advisor Ptolemy to sort things out, Amasis just farted and told him to carry that back to Apries. King Apries didn't take this disrespect well. He had his message...
Hot damn, dude. Here, take this back to you. He could have farted in a water bladder or something and tied it off.
messenger's nose and ears cut off, which turned out to be a pretty bad move. The Egyptian people were so outraged by this that
Hey, Mac computer scientist, stay safe. Leave. See, there's this dichotomy here where do you leave your phone? It's best to leave your phone to keep from being identified with it and positioned with it, but it's also nice to be able to have some way to contact people. So maybe carry some. Are payphones still a thing in your city? They're not. There's hardly any around anymore, which is part of population control too. Now we don't have public phones anymore where we can call for support. Anyway, just be safe, babe. Be safe.
they eventually turned against Apries, tore him apart in a mob.
And if you need to use your gas to escape a sticky situation, remember you got fart magic on your side.
Nemesis end up ruling Egypt for the next 44 years. All because of a fart. That's not something they teach you in history class. But wait, it gets even wilder.
Yes, Porpoise and Mad Computer Scientist are the same person. I think MCS is the newer name that they want to go by, and Porpoise is sort of the trolley name that they use for trolling people. I don't know though. They can explain their own name choices. I go by Bumblebee, and when I'm trolling people, I go by Denishoven the Denisovan, or Red Flags the Clown, things like that.
44 AD, a single fart in Jerusalem led to one of the deadliest incidents in ancient history. According to Josephus, who wrote about it in the Jewish War, Josephus describes an anti-Semitic Roman soldier who dropped his pants before a crowd of Jews celebrating Passover. The guy, quote, pulled back his garment and, cowering down after an indecent manner, turned his breech to the Jews and spake such words as you might expect upon such a posture. End quote.
Spake such words, huh? Talking out of his ass? Is that where that term comes from then? Is that what we're dealing with? Spake. I'm going to start using that. I spake words. How do you describe it? Let me replay that again.
Words as you might manner, turned his breech to the Jews, and spake such words as you might expect upon such a posture.
And spake such words you might expect upon the posture. Yes.
End quote. Which led to people starting to throw stones at the soldiers. The situation escalated so quickly that when the Roman army showed up, about 10,000 people died in the chaos, mostly from being trampled while trying to escape. So literally, a fart led to the death of 10,000 people in the first century. Apparently, the oldest joke ever recorded is a fart joke from ancient Samaria around 1900 BC.
That's true too. Yeah, I know. I've heard this before. Well, I should say I've heard that it's true. I don't know that it's true. But I want to think I heard it on Digital Hammurabi, which I tend to trust. But
it goes, something which has never occurred since time immemorial. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap. The philosopher Pythagoras believed the soul, pneuma, was breath. And because a fart was a sort of breath, as he was struggling with the mechanics of trigonometry, it was...
Ooh, I know I'm supposed to be talking about farts and stuff here, but I want to admire these ancient and unique instruments here. I love this harp. I would love to have a harp like this size. This little hand harp with, a few dozen strings on it or so. I play strings. I play pluck strings, so this is right up my alley. I would love to have a harp, but there's also this big sucker right here. I don't know what this, it looks like this is a large harp. I don't know what kind of harp either one of these is. I'm not I should say either. There's more than two. There's another one right here that's horseshoe shaped. And I'm going to say that the people that are kneeling are the ass choir. I think it's a liar. I think you're a liar, right-handed Sith. How you feel about that? No, maybe it's a liar. This big one's a harp, though. I don't know what type of harp. Well, a lyre is a type of harp too. So, the I'm gonna assume the people kneeling are doing the ass choir though, and making the beautiful butt music.
He was also concerned that if a person pushed hard enough, they might fart out his or her soul. And get this, some ancient cultures even had fart gods. The Innu people of Canada worshipped Mashishkapeu.
If anybody wants to do a D&D character that's an acolyte of Matshish Kupil, that's kind of badass. There's been a few characters in video games, in like tournament fighter games, that had fart powers. The main one I remember was Chaos from Primal Rage. He was a big, sort of like baboon-like, ape-like stink monkey, and his powers were doing gross stuff. But he had a fart, and it was like a puff of green steam that he blew at you. And then he had, and he was a god. He was like the god of chaos and filth or something like that. He had a power where I don't know if it was a fatality or not, but a power where he peed on you, and it got cut from the game. But there's a character in Mortal Kombat that does that stuff too. I think it's the drunk guy that farts. Yeah. Ass, lyre, butt, trumpet, toot and lute. What other instruments you got? Yeah, I like a lute and a lyre. And Ben needs a full-size panpipe. I should make an instrument, speakeasy instrument ensemble wish list for the stuff we need for that for our little jam room.
Literally the fart man, who they considered one of their most powerful spirits. Every fart was believed to be a message from this god, and they actually had special interpreters to explain what each fart meant. Then they
Oh my gosh, maybe I should open up a business doing that. I will interpret your gas. Please eat a high protein meal the night before your visit. And I will listen to the secret message from the god.
There's the story of Crepitus, the Roman god of farting.
There he is
mainstream
again.
Historians will tell you that this was just made up farting.
See, we thought that they were fleeing in fear, but they're actually participating in a gaseous ritual with cherubs assisting them. Look at the guys up in the sky. Poot, 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 poot.
Now, mainstream historians will tell you that this was just made up by Christian writers to mock pagan religions. But it's interesting. The story goes that Romans would actually make libations and offerings to this god. According to accounts, the Athenians saw farts as good omens.
That's not a fart, that's a poop. And I guess a healthy poop is a good omen. It means you're healthy. So they're not wrong.
A Roman priest would curse them. The Emperor Claudius supposedly even had Crepitus at his dinner table. Whether or not Crepitus was real, it's fascinating that this god of farts was important enough to be written about by major historical figures like Voltaire and Flaubert. And we know that the Romans had gods.
Yeah, but Voltaire wasn't above writing satire either. So, I mean,
For everything else, they had gods of toilets, doorways, even gardens. So a god of farting doesn't seem that far-fetched. There is a scene from Aristophanes' The Cloud.
that soft serve ain't healthy. I mean, it looks like the poop emoji. It looked like the ancient poop emoji. So I'm assuming that was just the normal depiction of a turd. Yeah, it should be more like obviously more sausage shaped and denser, but not everybody got enough roughage in their diet back then. If you want to fart more, don't rinse your beans before eating them. Oh, Jur's got farting advice for us. Blow out your O-ring. Ouch. No, don't do that. Family. Yeah, I remember that episode of Family Guy. Looks like Dairy Queen.
Clouds, in which Athenians compare thunder to the sound of celestial flatulence. So perhaps there is a truth to this. The ancient Greeks actually took farts pretty seriously as divine messages. There's this old Homeric hymn about the god Hermes where he farts while Apollo is holding him, and it's described as a hard-worked belly serf, a rude messenger. Basically a divine omen.
I would say so. A divine omen from his godly flatulence. Yeah.
And this wasn't just a joke. It was divination, which was a huge deal in ancient Greece. And apparently, farts were...
I think that we should bring this back. That we should open a fart divination like reading shop. Like, come get your farts read, because everybody's reading palms, consulting the crystal, doing tarot. Nobody's doing fart divination anymore, and it's a shame. It's quite a shame.
For one way the gods could send messages. This is literal fart magic.
The pungent piccolo, nice. The vertical harmonica, Aunt Jer's got more coming at us. Yeah. Thunderous ass clap.
There were those who practiced the reading of flames, a method known as pyromancy, while others listened to and channeled demons contained within their bellies. This was a form,
which is really close to the psychic surgery, which is also on the poll, and will be on the poll next week, as well as any topic requested by you guys for this segment. So don't be afraid to voice your opinion on what kind of weird stuff you want me to cover here, because I'm branching out in this segment. It used to just be about like ancient civilizations and religious claims and stuff like that. But you send me anything weird like this, and we will look into it and see. Because humans are weird. We have a lot of weird folklore, and I'm here for it. I especially like finding out when there's like truth to some part of the folklore. But like, can you really tell someone's health from their consistency of their flatulence? There's probably ways that can be done, right? From stool samples, you can definitely tell a lot about a lot of things about people or animals. So scatology is a real science.
Form of ancient divination. It seems this is why Egyptian priests wouldn't eat beans. According to Herodotus, they were trying to avoid any unexpected divine messages, if you get what I mean. So moving into medieval times, farting started to transform from something religious or magical into an actual respected form of entertainment. And when I say respected, I mean you could literally get rich and famous from it. But before we get to the professional
lifestyles of the rich and the famous, right out of their anus, it's not real.
Farters, we need to talk about this weird farting monster.
Finally, we got a fart monster. We have had fart gods and fart saints and fart priests, fart prophets, but now we have a fart monster.
There's this creature called the Bonacon that shows up in manuscripts from the 1300s. But supposedly it was actually first written about by Pliny the Elder way back in ancient Rome. They described it as this bizarre bull-like creature with a horse's mane and these totally useless horns that curved inward. But what made it unique was its signature defense mechanism. Apparently, this thing could blast its pursuers with burning poop and fart.
It kind of looks like an ovid.
That could scorch everything within 3 acres. We're talking about being able to shoot this stuff over 100 Roman feet. which is like 31 meters. Medieval monks were so fascinated by this farting beast.
I, I I mean, I don't want to speculate, but I'm almost certain this is from medieval depictions that this is a Winzit, which is the European cousin to the buffalo.
That they kept including it in their bestiaries. They have all these depictions of hunters getting blasted by the Bonakin's fiery defense system. What I find strange is there's all this information on the importance of farts from ancient times and even an ancient farting beast. And then we don't hear anything about it for 1,000 years. Nothing at all on farting until around the 1200s. Now all of a sudden, farting has become the height of entertainment. So yeah, this gets into Roland.
Yeah, let me real quick. I got the Bonnekin pulled up here, and yeah, as far as and there's a reason why I thought that it was. Yeah, the term is derived from the Greek bonosos, which means bison. Yeah, which looks like this. Strabo, when describing the zebu at the festival in India, used the term bonosus. Yeah, so it's used loosely for wild bovids, but I mean a zebu looks like that, right? And a bison looks like that. They have things in common, but yeah, they do produce a lot of methane. He's not wrong. But, all right, we're gonna get into Roland the Farter, hero of the gaseous empire. He has his French name, Roland de la FARTaria. I like that better, Roland de la FARTaria. Yeah, we're gonna use that.
The farter? He was a professional farter who performed for King Henry II of England in the 12th century. His signature move was this combination of a jump, a whistle, and a fart. And apparently he was so good at it that the king gave him a whole manor house and 100 acres of land in Suffolk. Imagine being so good at farting that you get a mansion for it.
Yeah, I mean, we need to bring this back. If there are any exotic farters out there, the Hive wants to know.
Okay, are we going to question why this was entertaining to a king during these times? It's just strange that medieval nobles actually loved crude humor. The cruder the better. We're talking about a time when people would pay to watch mystery plays where devils would run around farting at the audience. Supposedly this profession was widespread in Ireland throughout medieval times. For example, a tradition of 8th century Irish records lists brogadore, or farters, as those who held retainers in courts. Roland's contemporaries,
like they were farting on flames and stuff and making them flare up too. I've been inpatient in enough hospitals to be familiar with talking about my bowel activity, like talking about the weather. Like for real. Yeah, Dave, there was a video of that kid at the zoo getting covered in it. The hippo doing the... Yeah. Weaponized feces.
a group of Irish farters called Brigatory, allegedly occupied a table at the banquet hall of the High King of Ireland. But farting wasn't just for laughs in medieval times. It was actually a powerful form of political protest. Geoffrey Chaucer, one of the most important writers of the time in the 14th century,
You hear that, people out there protesting? Don't be afraid to weaponize your gas.
wrote this scene where an angel shows a friar around hell, and when the friar is feeling smug about not seeing any other friars there, Satan literally opens his ass and 20,000 friars come swarming out like bees from a hive. In his Summoner's Tale, there's this old man who gets revenge on a greedy friar by saying, "Hey, I've got some..."
Friars live in the devil's ass. And that's wild.
something to show you. And when the friar reaches behind the old man expecting to find some money, he gets a fart so powerful that Chaucer says no horse could have matched it. When the friar goes to complain, someone suggests he should share this gift fairly by having 12 friars kneel around a cartwheel with their noses at the spokes while he farts in the middle. That's kind of detailed.
Wow.
Even Shakespeare couldn't resist a good fart joke. In Two Gentlemen of Verona, there's this scene where a guy gives his crush a dog named Crab as a gift. The issue is Crab has some serious digestive issues. The dog ends up farting under the Duke's dinner table so bad that everyone wanted the dog whipped. But the servant actually takes the blame for the fart to protect the dog.
You don't whip a dog for farting. That's terrible. If your dog has digestive problems, you need to adjust his diet. You need to whip him. You can't control. We had a little dog that sometimes if she ate the wrong thing, she would get diarrhea, and she'd whimper while she was pooping. It was so sad. It's like, oh, does it burn, sweetie? And she thought she was going to get in trouble.
In Shakespeare's Henry IV, Part 1, there's a scene where a character named Owen Glendower tries to make himself sound important by claiming that when he was born, the earth shook and the heavens were on fire. Another character, Harry Hotspur, responds by telling him that these weren't actually signs of his greatness. The earth was just sick and farting that day. Shakespeare writes this in poetic language about unruly wind trapped in the earth's womb, basically turning a fart joke into elegant poetry.
Like, maybe thunder is the farts of the gods. Has that ever been a thing? Should have went with that.
The medieval criticism of religious corruption through farting actually helped spark major religious change. After Martin Luther was excommunicated from the Catholic Church in 1521, he fought back in a pretty unique way.
Did Martin Luther fart at the church?
He commissioned a series of protest artworks called The True Depiction of the Papacy, and he had this artist create some interesting woodcuts. One of them is called The Birth and the Origin of the Pope, which showed a female demon literally pooping out a pope. Then in 1545, there's this other one called The Papal Belvedere, showing German peasants farting at Pope Paul III in his official documents. During the years
Is that the farts making a burst into flames too?
1641 to 1660, when Puritans were basically trying to kill all fun in England by closing theaters and banning public dancing, people found creative ways to rebel. John Playford started this secret singing club in 1649 that was actually raising money for out-of-work musicians. One of their
See, like, boycotting fun. Puritans. But yeah, we'll see how the farts tie into it.
most popular songs was called My Lady and Her Maid, which was all about farting. So yeah, while the Puritans were trying to make everything seriously and godly, these educated musicians were literally having secret meetings to sing about farts. According to John Aubrey's writings, Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, once accidentally let out a huge fart.
I talk about this every time I see depictions of people from this era. I absolutely hate these big floofy collars that they wore. Like, it's funny that, you know, I mean, this is like was like the upper class kind of way to dress, but I actually like the ironically enough the Puritan look much better with the wide brim hats and stuff than these Sir Walter Raleigh kind of ornate collars that look ridiculous. Like, what's the goal here? I don't know. I'm being judgmental about something that was a fashion statement centuries ago, but I also wore, Jinkos when I was a kid, so, whatever.
Fart while bowing to Queen Elizabeth I. He was so embarrassed that he left the country for 7 years. When he finally came back, Queen Elizabeth supposedly welcomed him by saying, "My lord, I had forgot to fart." In the early 1700s, Thomas Durfee and Jonathan Swift specifically
Why is that not like a famous quote from her?
used farting in their writing to mock women. Durfee even wrote this infamous 37-verse poem called The Fart about trying to find out who farted in front of the Queen. Later, Swift wrote a whole pamphlet called The Benefit of Farting Explained, under the fake name Don Ferdinando Puff Endorsed. Unlike early
I like that name, Don Ferdinando Puffendorf, professor of bum bath in the University of Krakow. Oh my goodness, that's good stuff.
earlier fart humor that was meant to be funny or rebellious, these writers were saying that women's opinions were as worthless as hot air. But what I find to be wild,
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, you can seriously go fuck yourself about that. But yeah, I like the puns and stuff. I like the old timey humor. But holy shit, I didn't know it was gonna get cringy.
is some of the most beautiful and expensive books from medieval times. I mean, we're talking about religious manuscripts that took incredible skill and money to make, are absolutely filled with fart jokes in the margins. These weren't just random doodles either. Making these books were serious business. They had to turn animal skin into paper, use gold leaf, and spent months creating just one book. But around the edges of these holy texts, there are naked bishops farting, people playing trumpets from both ends, and apes blowing wind instruments into each other's butts.
Oh my gosh, that's that trumpet thing. I imagine there's probably a market for that. Oh my goodness.
There's actually a whole musical connection with farting here. The Latin word bombus meant fart, which is why they called certain wind instruments bombards. And flatus, which gave us the word flatulence, was used in music to describe breathing into instruments. When you think about it, the whole concept of wind instruments might have started with people trying
Wind instruments and farting. I gotta tell Ben about this. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Because Ben has at least 2 saxophones. I'm sorry, Ben.
to imitate or replicate different kinds of, well, natural wind sounds. The connection between the mouth pipe and the other end was so strong that medieval writers like Dante literally described demons making trumpets of their butts. Even the great artist Hieronymus Bosch got in on this in his famous painting, The Garden of Earthly Delights. In the Hell panel, he shows sinners being tortured with bum notes, including one poor guy whose butt is being used as a musical score by a frogman hybrid.
Oh.
So, okay, we're told that these medieval monks were copying religious texts.
I can't read sheet music. I shouldn't say I can't read it. I have to transpose it to tablature before I can play it on anything. Yes, even piano. I have to turn it into tabs for piano. I'm not even joking. Yeah, and I have my own tablature system. I can only play melody on piano, by the way. I don't want to pretend like I'm like a good piano player. Usually if somebody plays the bass end of things, I can do the melody. I'm not real good at the bass end of things on keys, just because my hands aren't adapted to the positions. They're adapted to these positions. But I try.
Text. But what's with all the fart jokes? They actually taught these dirty Latin words in school. There are these old textbooks where kids had to learn words like torde in thy teethe, turd in your teeth, right alongside their regular lessons.
Turd
So
in your
next time someone
teeth.
tells you
What?
people in medieval times were all serious and religious, just remember they were literally teaching kids fart words in Latin class. Interestingly, Japan actually has an incredible history of fart artistry going back to the
Japanese fartistry. I'm into some Japanese fartistry. Let's moving from Europe to the Far East. Let's go.
Kamakura era between the 12th and 14th centuries. The most famous of these early performers was Fukutomi no Oribe, known as the King of Farts, who made his fortune performing fart dances for aristocrats. There's a story about him and his neighbor
I feel like I could start a whole circus of people doing this. Maybe we could even put like glitter powder and stuff.
Toda, who got jealous of Oribe's success and tried to learn the art of professional farting. Well, it didn't end well. Toda took some mysterious pills from Oribe and ended up having a very messy, very public accident at a nobleman's house. But
That actually happened on an episode of Jackass I watched when I was a kid too. Johnny Knoxville has a cousin who supposedly can fart on command, and he tried. Like they did the show, and he tried, and he ended up pooping on camera.
it was during the Edo period when farting really became an art form in Japan. The streets of Tokyo had these shows called misemono, where you could see all kinds of unusual performers, including a guy known as the Mist Descending Flower Blossom Man in 1774.
The art here, I cannot. Oh my gosh. How am I supposed to move forward from this with my life?
This performer became famous for taking in
I like this guy down here's face. This guy right here. I can see my mouse. Yeah, this guy, his face. None of them look impressed. They all look disturbed.
air and releasing it in what scholars actually describe as modulated flatulent arias. Like this guy was literally doing musical compositions with his farts. The Japanese were so into fart-based entertainment that they created these art scrolls called higasen, literally fart battles. These were elaborate battle scenes where people were using
They blur out the genitalia. Mommy has a shield, a fart shield.
farts as weapons, blasting each other through walls, uprooting trees, and sending animals flying through the air. People
So, like, this reminds me of, like, in a way, like the longevity stuff with the Eastern art.
would try to defend themselves with fans and face masks against these wind attacks. They even showed people trapping farts in bags to use as
Using yeah, hold on. I'm gonna do this because I'm not good at popping it open, but I have a fan. So don't even come at me with your fart attacks, because I got you covered, bitch. Wah. I need to work on that. It's kind of sexy, huh? Yeah, so you can't even get me with your fart attacks because I'm armed.
weapons later. While some people have tried to say that these were political statements about foreigners, they were really just a part of Japan's long tradition of bathroom humor and art, dating all the way back to the 12th century. In the late 1800s,
The last fart
Joseph
bender.
Pujol, better known as La Petoman, which literally means the maniac farter, became France's most unusual celebrity
Le Pitoman.
entertainer. After discovering as a young swimmer that he could draw water into his rectum, he learned he could do the same with air and control its release with remarkable precision.
Holy shit. The most holy.
Unlike other farters, Pujol wasn't actually passing gas, He developed a technique where he would inhale air through his mouth and somehow channel it to be released through his rectum. Performing at the famous Moulin Rouge in Paris, he would appear in a formal tuxedo and treat his act like a sophisticated musical performance.
Oh, thank you, Ember, for the super chat. Love you, baby girl. For generations, artists have dreamed of drawing the invisible. Only the greatest fartists in history have ever managed this miracle.
His repertoire included playing songs like La Marseillaise, imitating cannon fire and thunderstorms, blowing out candles from several yards away.
Love you, Ember. I can't say it enough. Ass breathing, yeah. We can learn to do this, and it sounds like water's the where you learned at to control those muscles. We might be able to get this fart band off the ground. Again, I need at least 4 of you all to be in my fart band, as we saw in that earlier piece of art, which I probably won't be able to find again, with people with all the harps and stuff. And then there was I'm not gonna dig back for it, but there was the 4 people kneeling with the farts. What I'm understanding is, like, in a parlor setting, which is what harps are. Harps are a parlor instrument, right, for the most part, except for the really big ones. So in a parlor setting, you need at least 4 fartists if you're gonna have any kind of strings. And I play strings, so I need at least 4 of you guys.
And even smoking cigarettes with his rear end. Le Beto Man became so popular that his audiences included the Prince.
Oh, could you imagine getting nicotine on the mucous membrane of your anus, though? Oh my God, I'd be throwing up. The last cigarette I ever smoked made me throw up because of the nicotine was so wah.
Of Wales and King Leopold II of Belgium. He performed until World War I, when he retired from the stage and returned to his original
chamber music has a whole new meaning, Ember.
profession as a baker. Interestingly, even in modern times, when Le Beto Man's story was adapted for theater in 2001, several theaters rejected it, claiming their audiences were too sophisticated for the subject matter. And this really points out to something ironic about our entire history. We're told that ancient and medieval people were capable of creating these magnificent architectural works, impossibly complex cathedrals, perfect stone structures, and engineering marvels. Yet at the same time, these supposedly advanced builders were completely obsessed with farting. If you've seen the video on waste management and poop fuel, you might see where I'm going with this. But think about it. How do we reconcile a society that was supposedly sophisticated enough to build these incredible structures, yet they were throwing waste into the streets and building massive entertainment culture around farting? More importantly, why didn't any...
Because we're humans. Yeah, he's got to tie Tartaria into this at some point. That's his thing. Yeah, I need a fart tat.
These magnificent buildings have proper bathrooms or sewage systems? It's almost as if these people who built these structures didn't need them. What makes more sense is that these medieval fart enthusiasts weren't the builders, they were the inheritors of these cities after the reset. When their diet and energy source changed, they suddenly had to deal with bodily functions that their predecessors didn't have. They were literally discovering farting for the first time.
Oh, finally we get to the conspiracy. I've been having a lot of fun with this video, but it took a long time to get to his conspiracy about it, that people didn't fart before the reset. FARTaria.
Which explains why they found it so fascinating and entertaining. It doesn't make too much sense that people who were throwing their poop on the street, getting drunk, and entertained with farts would be responsible with the construction of many of these structures, and more likely points to the fraudulent nature of our history.
There it is.
It would seem that many of the ancient references of farting are really just from the medieval age after the reset. The civilizations before the reset likely didn't...
People have always been fascinated with farting. I'm sure that Pleistocene people farted into their campfires and were ooh about it. I'm sure. This is not like all the different things that humans can do with their bodies. There's some weird stuff I can do. Let's see if I can do it. There's this place on my neck that I can make fart sounds with. Right there. Yeah. So people's bodies are weird. Yeah.
Experience these bodily functions the same way. They were in harmony with nature, living off fruits and proper breathing techniques. What we're seeing in these supposed medieval times
Fruit
is actually
because are we doing like an ark sort of thing where before there was no predation and everybody just ate fruit off the vine?
the documentation of a society struggling to adapt to new bodily functions, most likely brought on by the consumption of meat and the fall from that higher state of being.
Oh my gosh.
That's my take anyways.
Is the claim here that vegans don't fart? Because I have some news for you about that concept. That vegans and vegetarians don't fart. It's actually a meme that they do. They do indeed, because everybody needs protein in their diet, my friend. Everybody needs protein.
But tell me your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and all we can hope is that our minds may be unveiled.
Let go of everything you think to be true. Relax the mind and ask the question, do I truly understand what this reality is?
Mind unveiled. All right. That was bathroom humor for the day. The reset. We finally got to the reset. People didn't fart before the reset. That's just the truth. All right. Wow, that ran a lot longer than it usually does. We're going to get the full 3 hours. You're probably going to get the full 3 hours out of me today anyway. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going to take another intermission because I got to go potty and stuff. And then we will continue on. But for my Wednesday viewing audience, please remember to be kind, take care, and don't forget to weaponize your farts as necessary. We'll see you next time.